Welcome to the Valareso Capital community, where we discuss the stock market and trading strategies to become a consistently profitable trader and investor. Hey traders, welcome back to Valareso Capital. On today's video, we're just going to go through the weekly watch list and we're also going to take a look at the market. So let's just jump directly into the video, guys, before all the celebrations for New Year's begin. So before we go into the video, guys, I just want to wish you a happy New Year's. And I'm super grateful for all of you guys here in the channel. If you have not yet, make sure to subscribe. That way we can start the year all together. So let's just take a look at the market here. I'm gonna start quickly with a video here of the SPX, and I'm gonna take a look at the weekly chart. And the reason that I'm taking a look at the weekly chart is very simple. It's just to show you how close is the SPX to the all-time high that we made on 2022. So I don't see any reason of why the SPY would not take, right, the SPX would not take that all-time high out. I actually do think that we're going to continue higher, right? I do have a target. This is a Fibonacci target measured from this high here to the low that we had on October. And that's the 1618 extension, Fibonacci extension. That's going to be somewhere around 4,900. So I do have that extension as a target, but what I'm thinking is in the first week of January, as we get new flows into the market, I think that the really easy move is taking this all-time high out, and then perhaps we're going to see a little bit of consolidation before we continue higher. I do think that we have a window of strength due to seasonality going into January. And that probably is going to change as soon as we get the monthly expiration, and then we start going into February, which is seasonally kind of a weak period in the market, meaning that we perhaps are going to see a more meaningful pullback, perhaps a little bit of a correction. We tend to see that into February, into March, and then we tend to see a continuation to the upside when we get a bull market. So we shouldn't be surprised if that happens, but all in all, I do expect some strength going into January. So let's go into the daily chart so we can have a better look at the SPX. And let me just take this out here so that we can look at the chart without any names. So when I'm looking at the SPX, if you were paying attention, paying attention to the weekly chart, you can see that we have a very important level right here that we broke above it, and then of course the all-time high is right here, a little bit above that 4,800 level. I do have an anchor VWAP zone here. We do have this zone of support, so I do think that it makes sense that the SPX holds this level and then takes out that 4,800 level perhaps next week, right? Perhaps next week, in the first couple of weeks of January. I do think that is going to be a really easy trade, right? If you can grab some exposure around this level right here and then take profits somewhere around this level right here of 4,820, I think that's going to be a really easy trade to start the New Year's, right? So it's going to be the SPX, and then of course we can take a look at the QQQ. And the interesting thing about the QQQ is that we are already at all-time highs, right? Let's take a look at the weekly chart here. We already make an all-time high. I do think that we're going to continue to see a little bit of a melt up before we see any significant pullbacks. And by significant pullbacks before February in this window, I do think that we're going to continue to see a move higher here, then perhaps a little bit of consolidation. Are we going to continue to see higher prices? I don't know, but this one is looking great, right? We are making all-time highs. There is nothing bearish about that at all. So let's jump into the setups, and of course the SPX and the QQQ. I always like to trade these stocks. So right here, I do think that the QQQ is viable against this all-time high, and of course we have an anchor VWAP zone. So I do think that this is viable, perhaps for a continuation into this 415 area in the QQQ. I think that's going to be a really nice trade. Let's take a look at the watch list, and I'm going to share, basically I'm looking at ETFs, right? I do have the SMH here. We're testing the support level here. We're going to continue to see a melt up. Perhaps I do have a couple of Fibonacci zones right here at 180. So that's going to be a trade that I'm looking at the SMH. Of course, if we continue to see some strength in the FANGs, I love trading this ETF. This is the FNGU. This is the microsector FANG 3x leverage ETF. So this one is actually pretty nice to trade. We do have some really nice volume. You can see that we have the average daily volume is somewhere around 325 million. So it's pretty liquid. And this one is looking great, right? You can see right here that we had a breakout. We have a breakout above this zone. We're holding this area right here. We're basically just flagging sideways. And my expectation is that we're going to continue to see higher prices here as many of the mega caps are setting up. So this one is a really nice way to play it, because sometimes you want to trade the mega caps and then all of a sudden you get involved in Amazon, and then the one that actually makes the move is Apple, and then Google, and then you start to see this rotation around the mega caps, and then Meta is moving, and then Netflix is moving. One way to really catch the move in all of them is trading this leverage ETF. You can see right here that we had the last time a really nice flag into support, and then we had a huge breakout, and basically this breakout is catching all of them. So this one is a really nice way to play those setups all at once. So then of course I am watching the IWM. Right here you can see that we're having our first touch of that 8 exponential moving average since we had this breakout. This is the first touch of that 8 exponential moving average. I also have an anchor view up zone. This one is looking interesting. Perhaps we're going to continue to see some more move to the upside right here in IWM. We do have a level here. Let me just jump quickly into that weekly chart. We do have a level somewhere around here. I do think that if we happen to see real resistance in the IWM, perhaps it's going to be somewhere around this level here. You can see that we have a lot of supply around this level right here. That's going to be somewhere around 210 and 215. I do think that if we happen to see more upside, then perhaps this is probably going to be a wall of resistance in the IWM. So keep watching those levels and have some alerts. Let's take a look at Google here. Google is also looking great. So I'm sharing a lot of setups with you guys. These are names that I really like trading, and I love when they're setting up. So we have Google here. You can see that we had this breakout above this DTL, and now we're basically just testing the DTL, right? You can see that we are testing that anchor view up zone. We're basically testing this breakout zone. This is a beautiful place to start grabbing some exposure in Google, right? You can see that we're starting to flag a little bit here. Right, you can see that we're starting to flag here a little bit. So then perhaps a continuation to the upside makes sense. Google is also looking great. Then of course the Dow Jones already a new highs. I don't think that we have to talk much about this one. This one is just looking great, right? We are making new all-time highs in the Dow Jones, right? Any pullbacks, basically we don't have any sellers here so far, but this one is looking great. And then finally, let's take a look at Microsoft and then Tesla. Microsoft continues to look awesome, right? You can see that I do have a level here. This line right here that I have is a 0618 Fibonacci retracement measured from this high here to this low here, and you can see that this level has just been a wall of resistance for Microsoft. But as soon as we are able to break above it, I do think that we're going to have a move to new all-time highs. This one is looking great. If you like the VCP patterns, you can see that buyers continue to aggressively buy Microsoft higher and higher as we get closer to resistance, and that's usually a representation of sellers losing control of prices, and then that's usually when you get the breakout. And basically, if you're a seller, what is the psychology of the seller here? If you get a breakout above this level, you are like, okay, I'm wrong. And the moment that sellers accept that they're wrong, they're going to start to cover, and then you're going to have new buyers, and then you're going to also have some short covering, and most likely Microsoft is heading to new all-time highs here. And if you're a student of the squeeze, you can see that we do have a squeeze here, right here, and then of course that's looking great. It's looking awesome. It's actually looking pretty fantastic. I like Microsoft going into next week. And then finally we have Tesla. A lot of people got a little bit disappointed with Tesla. I actually had a really nice trade. I was just following my system, right? Remember guys that we mentioned Tesla coming into support here. I had some exposure, and then I just measured a Fibonacci 1272 extension from this high here to this low here. I actually paid myself somewhere around that swing high. It was actually a pretty nice trade. And then we had this pullback. I do think that this pullback is a gift. This is the 21 exponential and the anchor view up zone once again. And you can also see that we have this breakout level. So I do think that Tesla is viable around these levels, and I do think that we're probably gonna try to test this 270 level here, and that is going to be just a nice swing trade. I don't know if it's going to be like a crazy position trade, but if you're just looking for a nice swing trade, grabbing Tesla here, selling Tesla somewhere around here, that's going to be a really nice trade, right? So that's going to be it for the video, guys. I want to keep it really short. I'm sure that all of you have plans for New Year's. So once again, guys, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next year. I will see you next year for more charts and more fun. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye bye.